Hello and welcome to Wisdom and Wealth, your channel dedicated to exploring life's deeper questions and practical wisdom for a fulfilling life. Today, we're delving into a fascinating topic: what happens when you stop thinking? Buddhism offers a profound answer, and it might surprise you. If you find this content valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more insightful explorations. We are glad to have you join the Wisdom and Wealth community. Imagine this scenario: it's late at night and you're lying in bed, desperately trying to fall asleep. But your mind is racing, refusing to quiet down. Thoughts bombard you from every direction: worries about your job, concerns about your family, a nagging list of things you forgot to do. It feels like a relentless highway where cars never stop moving, an endless stream of mental chatter. Sound familiar? This experience is incredibly common. We live in a world that constantly stimulates our minds, creating a sense of mental busyness that never seems to end. This feeling of being overwhelmed by our thoughts can affect our daily lives and overall well-being. From the moment we wake up in the morning, our thoughts seem to kick into high gear. We start rehashing the events of yesterday, anticipating the challenges of tomorrow, and meticulously planning our actions for today. It's as if there's a constant inner voice narrating our lives, offering commentary, and rarely giving us a moment's peace. Most of the time, we hardly even notice this constant mental activity; it's simply become the background noise of our existence. Buddhism, however, brings forth a revolutionary teaching about the power and potential of this mental landscape. Are you enjoying this content? Please like and subscribe to the Buddhist Doctrine channel. True peace, according to Buddhist philosophy, isn't about eliminating thoughts entirely, but rather about changing our relationship with them. It suggests that true tranquility arises when we release ourselves from the grip of being controlled by our thoughts and instead, begin to observe them with detached awareness. This is not a passive dismissal of thoughts, but rather a transformation in how we relate to them. Now, the big question: is it truly possible to quiet that incessant inner voice? Can we genuinely learn to reduce the intensity and frequency of our thinking? And if we can manage to do so, what does it actually feel like to experience a mind that isn't constantly chattering away? The answers may be simpler than you think, and they have the potential to profoundly reshape the way you understand and interact with your own mind. Chapter 1: The Problem of Endless Thinking. Have you ever found yourself standing in the heart of a bustling city? The cacophony of sounds, cars honking, people shouting, phones ringing incessantly, creates a feeling of being utterly overwhelmed, an almost unbearable sensory overload. Now, imagine that exact level of noise and chaos constantly occurring inside your own head, without any respite. This is the experience of an overactive mind. From the moment we open our eyes, a flood of thoughts begins to rush in. Perhaps we are jolted awake by a lingering dream, or immediately begin to fret about the pressing tasks that await us in the day ahead. Some of these thoughts are undeniably useful, such as reminding us to grab our keys before leaving the house. However, many are simply unproductive noise, mental clutter that serves no real purpose and actively hinders our ability to focus and concentrate. It's akin to trying to have a meaningful conversation with a close friend in the midst of a crowded, noisy cafe. Despite your best efforts, the surrounding commotion makes it almost impossible to truly hear and understand what they are saying. This is the problem of endless thinking, the mental noise that drowns out our ability to be present and truly experience life. I hope you're finding this video helpful. If so, please like and subscribe to the Buddhist Doctrine channel so you won't miss future uploads. Consider the scenario of watching a breathtaking sunset. Instead of being captivated by the vibrant colors and the serene beauty of the moment, your mind becomes trapped on a mental loop, replaying a mistake you made at work. Why did I say that? What will happen as a result? Your mind continually repeats. While your physical body is present, your mind is somewhere else entirely, caught in a web of worry and self-recrimination. This kind of incessant thinking is not only mentally draining, but also prevents us from fully engaging with the present moment and appreciating the beauty that surrounds us. This continuous mental exercise is exhausting in the long run. It's like carrying a heavy backpack all day long, even when you don't actually need to. The Buddha once shared a story that perfectly illustrates this phenomenon. Imagine that someone shoots an arrow directly at you. The impact hurts. This represents the first arrow, the unavoidable pain and suffering that are inherent parts of life. But then, you pick up a second arrow and deliberately stab yourself with it. This represents the second arrow, the unnecessary pain that we inflict upon ourselves through overthinking and rumination. We all inevitably experience the first arrow, facing difficulties, losses, and hurts that are beyond our control. However, the second arrow is different. It represents the additional pain that we create ourselves by engaging in thoughts such as, "Why me? This is so unfair. I can't stop thinking about it." The Buddha wisely said, "Whatever has a beginning has an end. Let go, and find peace." But why does our mind behave in this way, constantly churning out thoughts and worries? Science has a compelling answer. Our brain possesses something called the default mode network, DMN. The default mode network, DMN, is like a radio station that is constantly playing in the background of our minds, perpetually reminding us of past events and fueling anxieties about the future. This explains why silence can feel so uncomfortable for many of us. Our brains have become accustomed to a state of continuous thinking, making quietude feel foreign and unsettling. But here's a crucial secret: you don't have to believe every thought that pops into your head. The Buddha once asked a student, "Where is your mind right now?" The student candidly answered, "It's thinking about many things." The Buddha smiled knowingly and said, "If you can see your thoughts, then you are already aware." This realization is the key to transforming your relationship with your thoughts. Thinking is like being a passenger inside a speeding car, helplessly caught up in its momentum. Awareness, on the other hand, is like standing calmly on the sidewalk, simply watching the cars as they pass by. Imagine watching clouds drifting across the sky. You observe them as they appear and disappear, naturally changing shape and density. You don't attempt to stop them or control their movement. Your thoughts are remarkably similar. You don't have to fight them, suppress them, or analyze them endlessly. You simply have to notice them, acknowledge their presence, and allow them to pass without getting swept away. Science supports this ancient wisdom. Mindfulness meditation, a practice centered around paying attention to the present moment without judgment, has been scientifically shown to quiet the activity of the DMN. It's like turning down the volume on the brain's radio station. Thoughts still arise, but they no longer hold the same power over you. They cease to control your emotions and behaviors. Here's the truth: you are not your thoughts. Peace doesn't mean the absence of thoughts. It means cultivating the understanding that your thoughts are merely like clouds drifting across the vast expanse of the sky, and you are the sky itself. The sky is always there, constant, calm, open, and free, regardless of the clouds that may temporarily obscure it. Chapter 2: What happens when thinking stops? Are you enjoying this video and learning new concepts? Please like this video and subscribe to our channel, Wisdom and Wealth. Do you recall the last time you gazed up at the sky immediately after a refreshing rain shower? The air felt noticeably cleaner, the world seemed to have quieted down, and everything appeared a little more vibrant and clear. That's precisely what happens to the mind when the relentless pace of thinking begins to slow down. Most of the time, our thoughts are like turbulent waves in the ocean, constantly surging, crashing, and changing direction. But when the wind stills, the water becomes calm and serene. In this stillness, you can see deeper into the depths of the water, revealing hidden wonders that were previously obscured by the surface agitation. Your mind works in much the same way. When the endless stream of thinking finally settles, something truly remarkable happens. The initial sensation you're likely to experience is one of immense relief, like finally putting down a heavy backpack that you didn't even realize you had been carrying. The constant pressure of planning, remembering, worrying, and analyzing gradually begins to ease. Your body starts to relax, releasing tension that you were previously unaware of. It's akin to suddenly realizing that you've been clenching your fists tightly for hours and finally allowing them to unclench, releasing the pent-up strain. Then, the world around you starts to appear different. Usually, our thoughts act like colored glasses, distorting and shaping the way we perceive everything. But when they quiet down, it's like removing those colored glasses and seeing the world with fresh, unbiased eyes. This experience is what Zen Buddhism refers to as beginner's mind. It signifies seeing the world without the filters of preconceptions, judgments, or biases, much like a child encountering something entirely new for the first time. Instead of immediately judging or categorizing everything you encounter, you simply experience it directly, with openness, curiosity, and a sense of wonder. Imagine a young child seeing snow for the very first time. They don't immediately think, "Oh, snow is just frozen water that falls from the sky due to specific weather conditions." No, they simply feel it, touch it, marvel at its texture, and laugh with pure, unadulterated wonder. That's the kind of unfiltered awareness that we regain when the mind is quiet and still. But something even deeper starts to unfold. The persistent feeling of I, that inner voice constantly chattering away, saying things like, "I like this, I don't like that, I am this kind of person, I am not that kind of person," starts to gradually fade into the background. Think for a moment about social media. People often meticulously construct an identity based on how they want to be perceived by others. They cultivate an image of themselves as successful, unique, or better than others. But is that carefully crafted image really who we are at our core? Or is it simply a superficial collection of thoughts, memories, comparisons, and carefully chosen filters? The truth is that this self that we cling to so tightly is not as solid and permanent as we believe it to be. It's simply a story that we keep telling ourselves, a narrative that is constantly evolving and often disconnected from our true essence. The esteemed German philosopher, Martin Heidegger, also explored this idea in his work. He believed that our constant need to analyze and categorize everything around us actually obscures reality and prevents us from experiencing it directly. We become so engrossed in our thoughts and ideas about life that we forget to truly experience life itself, in all its raw and unfiltered beauty. But when the relentless pace of thinking slows down, something profound shifts within us. Have you ever been so completely lost in a beautiful piece of music that you momentarily forgot about yourself and all your worries? Or so utterly captivated by a stunning sunset that you didn't think about anything at all? That's a glimpse of what it's like when the mind begins to quiet. You don't simply disappear, you become more deeply connected to everything around you, experiencing a sense of unity and interconnectedness that transcends the limitations of your individual self. The Buddha taught that our suffering arises from clinging too tightly to the idea of a separate, individual self. When we release that grip, even for a fleeting moment, we experience a profound sense of peace and liberation. This doesn't mean that you become an empty shell, devoid of emotions and personality. In fact, you become more vibrantly alive, more open to the richness and beauty of the world around you. This concludes this section. If you are enjoying the content, please like this video and subscribe to the Buddhist Doctrine channel. Thank you. Some deep meditation practices in Buddhism, such as Nirodha Samapatti, involve a temporary cessation of all thought processes. But the goal isn't to permanently shut down the mind, rendering it blank and unresponsive. It's about finding freedom from the constant mental noise, freeing yourself from being trapped within its confines. When thinking ceases, we don't become nothing. We become more purely aware, more attuned to the present moment. We see with greater clarity, feel with greater intensity, and experience life in all its fullness, without the added weight of the past and future clouding our perception. We return to something simple, something real, something that has been there all along, waiting to be rediscovered. And perhaps, just perhaps, that is what we've been searching for our entire lives. Chapter 3, The Balance Between Thought and Stillness. Thinking is not the enemy. In fact, it is a powerful and essential tool, one of the most valuable assets we possess. We utilize it to solve complex problems, formulate plans, navigate the world around us, and gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe. However, Just as a sharp knife can be used to prepare a delicious meal or, conversely, to inflict harm, thought must be wielded with awareness, intention, and discernment. If it begins to control us, rather than serving us, it quickly transforms from a valuable tool into a source of significant suffering. This is why Buddhism strongly emphasizes the concept of the middle way, a balanced path that avoids extremes. Some individuals find themselves trapped in a state of constant thinking, endlessly analyzing every detail until they become utterly lost in the labyrinth of their own minds. Others wrongly believe that all thinking is inherently detrimental and attempt to suppress it completely, striving for a state of perpetual blankness. But neither of these approaches ultimately leads to true wisdom or lasting peace. True balance emerges from cultivating the ability to discern when to engage in thoughtful reflection and when to simply be still, allowing the mind to rest and recover. This delicate balance is beautifully reflected in the Noble Eightfold Path, the comprehensive framework that guides Buddhist practice. One of its key elements is right thought, samma sankappa, which encompasses not merely thinking correctly, but cultivating a mind that is free from harmful, unwholesome thoughts, such as greed, hatred, and delusion. Right thought promotes the development of three essential qualities: renouncing attachment to worldly desires, cultivating unwavering kindness towards all beings, and letting go of harmful intentions. It's not about forcing the mind into a rigid, predetermined way of thinking, but rather about developing a keen awareness of which thoughts foster clarity, compassion, and wisdom, and which thoughts generate suffering, confusion, and negativity. Modern psychology offers a remarkably similar perspective on the nature of thought and its impact on our well-being. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, a widely practiced and evidence-based therapeutic approach, teaches that not all thoughts are inherently true, and not all thoughts are necessarily helpful. Some thoughts empower us, inspire us, and propel us forward on our path, while others distort our perception of reality and lead to unnecessary emotional distress. Just as we carefully choose the food we consume to nourish our bodies, we can also consciously choose which thoughts to cultivate and nurture, and which ones to gently discard. A monk once posed a profound question to the Buddha: "Should I simply stop thinking altogether?" The Buddha wisely replied, "Think when it is useful, but do not become a slave to your thoughts." This is the very essence of wisdom, recognizing that the mind is like a flowing river, always in motion, always changing, but we do not have to be swept away by every current. When carefully planning an important decision, engaging in thoughtful deliberation is not only necessary, but also highly beneficial. But when endlessly dwelling on past regrets or future fears, thought quickly becomes a heavy burden, weighing us down and preventing us from experiencing joy and contentment. In those moments, the most skillful response is not to fight against the mind or attempt to suppress it forcefully, but rather to gently step back, observe the thoughts with detached awareness, and allow them to naturally fade away without clinging to them. This process is not about suppression or control, but about cultivating a deeper understanding of the nature of thought itself and developing the ability to choose how we respond to it. A skilled musician does not simply play every note available, they carefully choose each one with intention, creating a harmonious balance between sound and silence. In the same way, wisdom is found not in thinking endlessly, nor in completely avoiding thought, but in using the mind with clarity, intention, and skillful discernment. Now is another great time to like this video and subscribe to the Buddhist Doctrine channel, so you won't miss future videos. Chapter 4. What if thinking stops completely? The mind is often likened to an endless river, ceaselessly flowing with thoughts, emotions, sensations, and perceptions. But what if, one day, that river simply stopped flowing altogether? No more movement, no more ripples, no more gentle murmur, just absolute and unwavering stillness. What would remain in that state of perfect mental quiescence? Would there still be awareness, a sense of being present, or would there be nothing at all? To begin exploring this profound question, we must first acknowledge that the absence of thought does not necessarily equate to the absence of awareness. There are moments in deep meditation, for example, where the thinking mind becomes remarkably quiet, yet one is not unconscious or simply spaced out. A quiet mind, free from unnecessary chatter and mental noise, is not the same as a mind that has ceased to exist entirely. But is it possible to go even further, to completely and permanently stop thinking in every conceivable sense of the word? And if so, what would that truly mean for our existence? Buddhism speaks of a rare and profound state known as Nirodha Samapatti, the cessation of perception and feeling. In this highly advanced state, all mental activity ceases entirely, no thoughts, no sensations, no emotions, no perceptions, no awareness of time or space. The Buddha himself described this extraordinary experience in the Udana. There is amongst that dimension where there is neither earth, nor water, nor fire, nor air, neither this world nor another world, neither coming nor going, nor standing still. This is the end of suffering. It's crucial to understand that this is not simply sleep, unconsciousness, or a deep trance. It is something entirely beyond the realm of ordinary human experience. It is a state of absolute stillness, where even the fundamental sense of I, the feeling of being a separate, individual self, dissolves completely. Those rare individuals who have entered this state and subsequently returned to ordinary consciousness speak of an indescribable peace, a profound silence that is deeper than any words can possibly convey. But this raises a fundamental question that has captivated philosophers and spiritual seekers for centuries. If all thought were to stop permanently, what would truly remain? Could a person continue to function in the world, to interact with others, and to navigate daily life without the aid of thought? Even enlightened beings, those who have transcended attachment to thought and the illusion of a separate self, still engage in thinking when it is necessary and appropriate. They still communicate with others, share their wisdom, teach profound concepts, and navigate the practicalities of daily life. The crucial difference lies in the fact that their thoughts arise and dissolve naturally, without clinging, without judgment, and without creating suffering. Thought becomes a tool that they skillfully utilize when needed, rather than a relentless master that dictates their every action and emotion. Philosophers have long debated whether the self could exist without thought. René Descartes, the renowned French philosopher, famously declared, "I think, therefore I am." He believed that the very ability to think was irrefutable proof of one's existence. But is thinking truly the sole foundation of our being? Jiddu Krishnamurti, another very famous philosopher, once challenged this notion, stating, "The ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence." This profoundly suggests that true intelligence, wisdom, and understanding do not arise from constant mental activity, but rather from direct perception, seeing reality as it truly is, without the distorting filters of the mind's projections, assumptions, and biases. If all thoughts were to suddenly cease, awareness could still potentially remain, allowing us to perceive the world in a more raw, immediate, and unfiltered way. But what about the sense of I, that deep-seated feeling of being a separate, individual self? Would it disappear along with the cessation of thought? Buddhist teachings suggest that what we commonly refer to as self is ultimately nothing more than a fluid and ever-changing collection of thoughts, memories, sensations, and perceptions that arise and fade from moment to moment. If thought ceases completely, the self, at least as we ordinarily understand it, dissolves, revealing the underlying emptiness of inherent existence. What remains is not an individual identity, but a boundless presence, a state of being that transcends all concepts of me and mine. Some spiritual traditions refer to this as ego death, a transformative experience in which all attachments to personal identity, self-image, and ego-based desires vanish, leaving only pure, unadulterated being. From a scientific perspective, the brain never fully stops working, even in the deepest states of meditation. Even in deep sleep or under general anesthesia, some level of neural activity persists, indicating that the brain is still functioning on some level. Studies on meditation have shown that during particularly deep states of stillness, the default mode network, DMN, the part of the brain responsible for self-referential thoughts, mind-wandering, and rumination, quiets down significantly. But even in these moments, the brain is not simply turned off, it is simply functioning in a different way, engaging in different patterns of activity. If all brain activity were to cease permanently, it would signify biological death. In that sense, the complete and permanent cessation of thought is not a realistic goal, nor is it necessarily desirable. But what is achievable, and what is profoundly beneficial, is cultivating a state where thought no longer dominates our experience, where we are free from its constant grip and able to observe it with detachment and wisdom. So what is the final answer to our initial question? If thinking were to stop completely and permanently, there would be no perception, no self, no awareness, ultimately, nothing. It would be an abyss, an absolute void, devoid of any experience whatsoever. But perhaps the more important and ultimately more comforting realization is that complete cessation of thought is not the ultimate goal. The Buddha did not teach that we must strive to eliminate all thought, but rather that we should not become enslaved by it. True freedom is not the absence of thought, but the ability to allow it to come and go without attachment, judgment, or resistance. Instead of constantly seeking to silence the mind entirely, we learn to rest in awareness, a state of open, spacious awareness that is deeper and more fundamental than thought itself. Beyond thought and beyond silence, there lies a vast and boundless openness, untouched by the noise and turbulence of the mental world. In that openness, we do not vanish or cease to exist, we awaken to our true nature. It is not extinction, but transcendence. And as always, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to the Buddhist Doctrine channel.